Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and welcome back to Big Apple Hockey. It is going to be a quick show because unfortunately somebody's got to go to work tonight. And unless one of you want to do it for me, that would be fantastic. I, of course, am the guy that's taking time out of God of War, Marc Williams, to be your host for Big Apple Hockey. And I'm joined by the host of the Final Buzzer. You had him on the watch along the other night, Mr. John Volkowski.
What a bad night for a watch along, but a better night last night.
Yes. And also a man that enjoyed yet another third period comeback, Mr. Anthony LaRocco.
Hey, Mark, did you know that the Buffalo Sabres drafted Rasmus Sandin?
Yeah. It's thank God that not enough people read my articles on that one yet.
Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out honestly how that got by me because I even had all the top picks on there. More on that article I was mentioned in a minute.
You're very, very lucky that not many people read that because it's just
or even called me out on it. You were the first one to do it, so I think I.
But the more concerning part was though your two people that proofread for you had they missed that too. I don't understand that.
I think they were looking for context. I don't think that they actually got there, but that's a different story, right? I know I was so focused on whether or not the article I got my point across. Which, by the way, everybody, once again, after most Ranger games, check in for the Final Buzzer to see if that man right there wants to talk about everything. Sorry, Filk's over there right now. And also look for my 60-second game reviews. There is no chance in hell I'm going to be able to do one tonight. I'm trying to do one for the Islanders as well as the Rangers as well. So maybe we could get more on there. Always check in with us, BigAppleHockeyPodcast.com. And I am going to be reordering trucker hats again, so that's going to be there soon. But today, guys, we are going to start with the New York Rangers, who were able to come back last night. They survived an awful first period. Filk, I can't wait to have the two of us talk about that first period and come back to beat LA. Right now, they're 2-0 on the road trip. They play Anaheim tonight, and they just moved Ryan Reeves to Minnesota for a 5th-round draft pick. The article in question we were just talking about, if you want to take a look at that, Kako and Lafreniere are collecting dust. Check it out on BigAppleHockeyPodcast.com. Filk, what do you think about this road trip so far?
Well, it's funny that it's called collecting dust when they were two of the biggest offensive producers last night. I mean, two of the top three. I would say Chris Kreider, the other three with the 2 goals. The one, the even strength one, and then the empty net one. But it's the first period and the 40 minutes after are a tale of two stories with this team this season. You get these flat efforts where they look disinterested. They look like they have no heart, no desire. And I'm sitting there and I'm questioning why Jacob Trouba is the captain, whether this core is good enough to actually win a cup and whether they have the drive to do so, and the coach, whether or not he's the right fit. And then they turn around and they play a near lights out rest of the 40 minutes of the game. And I don't understand why it takes these spurts, these comebacks for them to play this type of hockey. And it shouldn't be like this. And I still question the coach, because when you're having starts like that, that's on coaching. Yes, it's partially on the players as well, but that's heavily on coaching. And we've criticized Alain Vigneault in the past for it. We've criticized David Quinn in the past for it. And there's no reason why Gallant's tenure should not be marked with criticizing of these starts the same way that the two previous coaches have been criticized and buried for it. So Gerard Gallant has really got to start doing a better job of getting this team ready and motivated to play for games, because I don't know why this continues to happen, but it does. And at some point, something's going to have to change. I know I've been saying that, but if they want to save their season, it has to happen sooner than later. And I said last week that they had to go 3-1 on this trip. And right now they're 2-0-1. So they've got points in all 3 games. They've dropped 1 point out of the possible 6. So coming away with 5 of 6 so far is pretty good. I'm still not totally sold on this team. And I think there are a lot of problems that need to be addressed. Jacob Trouba still needs to be better. He still needs to be better. I thought Keandre Miller played one of the best games he's played all season last night. I thought his defensive play was actually really good, despite Jacob Trouba being as bad as he was. The kids played great last night. Filipino, if you looked at the advanced numbers from the game, Filipino was right at the top with Chris Kreider. Capo Caco, who I thought was the best player on the ice, regardless of team, was amazing last night. He should have had a hat trick. He had 3 glorious chances, cashing in on 1. But and then you have guys like a Barclay Goodrow, who needs to be better. Sammy Blais, who if there's a next man out in the whole let's get rid of everybody and jettison for cap space so we can make deadline moves, Sammy Blais got to be the next one. I'm sorry, but it's got to be Sammy Blais because he's not doing anything that validates his salary right now at this point. And I know he's coming back from a knee injury, but this guy might be cooked. He might actually be cooked. So I would move on from him. And I like what I saw from Vinny Trocheck. I need more from Artemi Panarin. There is no more excuses for Artemi Panarin. He's still a black hole at 5-on-5. It needs to change. He needs to step up. He needs to play. He needs to stop passing the puck, and he needs to start shooting more. I don't like what I see from him. I really don't. But get Vitaly Kravtsov back in the lineup. Start generating some offense. I mean, the 4 goals without the empty net pulled were good, but again, they need to be better. The defense needs to be better, and I wonder if their next move is for a defenseman because it seems like they're not getting anything out of Jacob Trouba. The third pairing left side has been a rotation between Libor Hayek, who's not good at all, and Zach Jones, who has been up and down with his play. So I think that would probably be the next move. I wonder if Dmitry Kulikov would be something that can interest them. I wonder if Carson Soucy, if Seattle starts to fall out of the race, would he become available? I wonder what other targets would be available. But, Frank Saravalli talked about his trade board because he did like the early goings of it yesterday. And he mentioned Ryan Reeves, and Ryan Reeves magically was dealt the very next day. So Frank Saravalli might be onto something. But, again, got to win tonight. Can't come out flat against Anaheim. They still don't have a regulation win. If you give Anaheim their first regulation win, fold the damn team and end the damn season and quit. That's all I'm going to say there.
Anthony, I think Filk was full of information because he went a good 6 minutes and didn't even pause for anything. Before I toss it down to you, Anthony, I just have to say that when I was talking about that they were collecting dust, their usage has gone down so much. I put up the numbers last night: 16:47 ice time, almost 15 minutes for Lafreniere. These are Ferraris that they're parking in the garage, and that you got to see what you're going to get for them. And if you read the article, you understand what I mean, and not about Rasmus Sandin being anywhere. But I do have to say, Filk, last night, and a matter of fact, the Arizona game as well, to come to mind, like they got dominated in the first period and badly. As I put on the Big Apple Hockey Twitter, if Peterson's pads were made of glass, there wouldn't be a crack on them. And the other crack I made was usually people pay good money to be dominated that badly. So they got to stop this not starting on time BS. Every bad team does it. Mike Babcock used to talk about it with the Maple Leafs, if you remember. That's something that's got to go. And that comes down to coaching. Anthony, what have you seen for the Rangers over the last week?
Well, a little bit of, Jekyll and Hyde with some of their play. It looked like in the LA game, it could have been headed to a loss. Thankfully in the third period, they took the game over. But more importantly, what we talked about last week was that this, 4-game stretch was going to be important. They needed to come out with the majority of the points. So 2-on-1, not bad. However, if you lose to Anaheim today in regulation, that wipes out, in my opinion, whatever good you did in the wins you got, because you cannot lose to the worst team in the league at this point. They have 11 points, no regulation wins. So a loss would be really bad for them. However, on the flip side, if you win, you finish it 3-0-1, you're feeling good about yourselves as you come back home. So, I think they have some stuff to clean up.
Always.
But yeah, no, They
do
do have.
agree with Anthony's point. They have a lot of things to clean up, and that's why I said I'm still not sold on this team as of yet, because they just the wins that they're getting are sloppy. I can see why he did that, but that's
Yeah.
fine. But the wins are sloppy. They're barely winning by the skin of their teeth in certain games. They almost had San Jose tie that game in regulation there in the final
I
second.
know. And that was a game that they had.
And that's a game that they had, and they went up 2-0. You thought, okay. And then they score the goal with 15 seconds left. And you're like, oh my God. And then with the last gasp of air, San Jose almost ties that game within the final seconds. And you're just thinking, what are these guys doing? So
Right.
I don't understand why they can't why they just can't pull 60 minutes together. All right, this is actually great, because I've said this before. You bring up 92-93 Rangers. This team reminds me of the 92-93 Rangers, funny enough, 30 years ago to the year, and how the leadership group clashed with Roger Nielsen, and they just lacked the drive to win games and needed a disciplinarian to put them all in check. And I seriously think that's what this team needs. So,
well, it's heading that direction, because I'm just going to put the final word on this. We're going to move on to the Islanders in about 5 seconds. Let me just say this, that I'm still not sold. And even if they win tonight and you lose 1 point conceivably out of the last 4 games of this road trip, the Rangers need to correct a lot of other problems. Right now, they're doing a tightrope walk, and it's a scary thing. It's a scary thing, because the last night's game could have easily been absolutely terrible. But we're going to talk about the other New York team, the New York Islanders, who they kind of had some trouble with their road trip too, but it ended very well. They're about to take on the Edmonton Oilers in about an hour. And so the Islanders, they beat the Leafs in overtime 3-2. Anthony Beauvillier, who you saw in the thumbnail, it was another third period comeback, even though it's technically not a third period comeback in a way, because they were down in the third. They were tied going in on the road trip. They lose to Nashville. I was at that game. Fantastic time with the Nashville fans. I still have to post videos about that. And even seeing a lot of Islander fans that were out there. So, guys, a great job. Islander fans were in droves going out there, Anthony. And then Matt Barzal with his 2 goals against Dallas that seemingly we predicted. Anthony, what do you think about the road trip? And do you think the Islanders pick up another win tonight going in against Edmonton?
Well, to correct you, they were down 2-1 going into the third. They weren't tied. They were down 2-1 going into the third period.
Really? I thought it was the other way.
Bailey tied the game very late in the third. It was 2-1 the whole third period until he scored. But 2-2 road trip. Picked up wins in Ottawa and Toronto, dropped against Nashville and Dallas. And as far as the Nashville game goes, they kind of, similar to the Rangers in LA, they slept. They were asleep in that first period. I mean, just loose on the body in front, letting the Predators players get their sticks free to redirect pucks in. Really bad. And despite all that, they almost came back and won that game. They made it 4-3. All the momentum right after that, they took a penalty. Nashville scores 5-3, and yet they come back again and make it 5-4. And then Barzal took a penalty at the end of the game, which really handicapped them, because by the time he got out of the box, there's only like a minute or so left. So I think the Islanders are really in position to win that game if they didn't take some ill-timed penalties. But nonetheless, slow start hurt him again. And the game in Dallas, I was actually driving up to our cabin in Vermont, so I did not see that game. I know they were up 1-0, and then they were up again 2-1, and then in the third period they kind of fell apart. But overall, when you go on a 4-game road trip, at least splitting it, is fine. So they did that. Now they're coming home to play the Oilers tonight, which actually, oddly enough, last time they played was New Year's Day last year, where Noah Dobson scored a goal in overtime to win it. So, but the Oilers, they're a Jekyll and Hyde team. They're really underperforming a little bit. They're carried by their 2 stars in McDavid and Draisaitl. Keeping them at bay is no easy task. So the Islanders are going to have their work cut out for them there, especially probably Pelech and Pollock. But overall, again, the Islanders are still doing what they have to do for the most part. The Metropolitan Division this year, boys, is going to be pretty tough. I mean, right now it's really the Devils, and then the Hurricanes, Rangers, and Islanders all have 24 points. And then the Flyers and the Blue Jackets kind of are already almost really starting to lag behind. The Penguins is really only the team with 21 points that's still within shouting distance and making a little heat on the Rangers and Islanders and Canes. But so far, like I said, so far so good for the Islanders. Just keep playing with consistency. I would like to see Bailey and Beauvillier produce more. Oddly enough, I criticized them before the Maple Leafs game. Bailey scores a tying goal and Beauvillier wins it in overtime. So maybe they heard me, but overall, like I said, pretty good road trip. Would like to see them complete that comeback in Nashville, but it is what it is. It's always going to get you at some point if you keep falling from behind. But like I said, I really like what I see for the most part. So hopefully tonight they can get a win going into Thanksgiving and build some good feelings again as we come out of the Thanksgiving break. Because as we know, American Thanksgiving is the benchmark for being in a playoff spot, and they are right now. So to solidify that further, I'm sure we'll have the room feeling good.
And just before I get you off the Filk, one word, Anthony, Islanders are the best third period team in the league.
I mean, it's hard to really to counteract that, but yeah, they're certainly a third period team, which in years past it's kind of been the opposite. But I would just like to see them come out with a little bit of some stronger starts here.
All right, Filk.
I saw them play probably two of their worst defensive games all year between Nashville and Dallas. And I think Nashville was probably the worst defensive game I think they played all year, by far. I just saw them making plays that were just lackadaisical, boneheaded plays that reminded me of the things that like Jacob Trouba and Adam Fox were doing earlier on in the season. And I'm just sitting there saying, like, this is not an Islanders team. This is not the structure that they've been playing with for the last 5 seasons. So it was kind of weird to watch those games, but they got back to what they were doing, especially against Toronto. I thought they played a lot tighter, a lot better, a lot more structure, a lot more up-tempo, in-your-face hockey that we're kind of used to from that team. And they once again prove why they are the best third-period team in the league right now. They come back and they tie the game. They force overtime. They win it. They get production from two guys who have been maligned by just about every Islander fan all year, and rightfully so, because they just haven't been productive. So it looks like the Islanders have their house in order. I think going forward, I think they're going to beat Edmonton. I don't think this is going to be a problem. I think Edmonton is not really reeling, but definitely feeling the loss, I should say, of Evander Kane, because they need that element in their top six, and their top six hasn't been the same without him. I know that they've scored without him, obviously, McDavid and Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins. They've got other guys, got good depth guys like Ryan McLeod, who can put up points and play a good two-way game. They've got other options, Puljujärvi within their top 9, I would say. But I don't like the defense still, and I don't like their goaltending. Stuart Skinner looks like he belongs in the minors.
We're going to be talking much more about that in a minute.
I don't buy this goal. I don't buy their goaltending at all. I still don't buy Jack Campbell, even though I think he's an upgrade over the corpse of Mike Smith, who probably was the NHL's version of the Crypt Keeper playing in net. I just wonder what they were thinking with this team, and I still don't buy it. I think Edmonton's going to have their work cut out for them tonight, and I think the Islanders are going to come away with a win. I'm going to say 4-2. I think they win this game. I think McDavid and Draisaitl will probably each get a point apiece, maybe even 2 points, because they'll be the ones in on the offense. If you let them get to the power play, they are going to burn you. They're just that good, that unit. And with the two of them on there, you can't cover for the both of them on the same unit. It's something to watch, really is. But I think the Islanders are winning this game.
Again, I'm going to say when it comes to the third period in the Islanders, it's like they got Herb Brooks telling them, this is your time. Now go out there and take it. And they're just doing that in the third periods. No matter how much they're down. Like we mentioned the Nashville game. I was at the Nashville game, and it seemed like Nashville, every time they put them away, they weren't getting put away. So now it's a matter of, can they keep that going? Do you want to be in situations like that? No, but you want to know you can come back. That is what is important. And I actually think they're going to win tonight. I agree with Filk. I would not be surprised if it's another third period comeback again for them. I'll say 4-2 as well. I'll say 4-2. They'll maybe they're down at some point and then they end up scoring 3 straight. It's just that's the way they've been playing this, and they're better offensively. They're not bad defensively. I flashed the goal differential, 11th plus 11 in the league. That's really good. I mean, it's not the Boston plus, I think, 40 right now, or plus 30. That's ridiculous. But not many people are like that. That's the New Jersey Devils have that too. Last word on the Islanders, Anthony.
You know what? I'm curious as to what, as we move on here in the season, what Lou kind of, focuses on. Josh Bailey was a healthy scratch, 2 games in a row, and played Ross Johnson in his place. And as much as, Bailey deserves criticism, he's, 10 times the player Ross Johnson is, and scratching him over Johnson doesn't make the team any better. So, if they're looking for a spark there, I wonder if Lou's looking to, upgrade a forward position in the name of either Bailey or Beauvillier to give them so a little bit more, reliable depth, because, Anthony Beauvillier is an interesting guy because he's got a lot of speed. He's a very good skater. He's actually got a good shot. His puck skills are pretty good. He's just inconsistent. And, that's something that, I mean, you can win with guys like that, but in a preferable situation, you want a guy that's going to be able to consistently produce. And, he hasn't been able to do that. At this point, he is what he is. He's a 20-goal player who leaves a lot to be desired somewhere, else in other parts of his game, and is just too inconsistent. So I'm curious if the Islanders really stay in the hunt here, which all inclinations are they will, if he's going to look to upgrade Bailey and Beauvillier's roster spot. Other than that, I really don't have much complaints about them. So we'll see going forward.
All right. Well, throw down all your comments, everybody, what you guys think the Rangers and Islanders have been doing for the last week, where they can improve. And, of course, make sure you're hitting that like button, because you got to appease the YouTube gods, as I flashed that graphic up just a minute ago. So, guys, tomorrow is Thanksgiving. So, again, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And I want to ask you guys, and Anthony, I'll start with you. What are you thankful for in the hockey world this year?
So I decided to go with Matt Barzal because, after his 85-point, rookie season, we saw the drop off in production, and there was a lot of talk about, him as a player and what he can do. And, I thought it was pretty obvious that, he was kind of neutered by Barry Trotz, and, he signed that big contract. And again, people are like, oh, that much money for a guy, who was, 60 points. And, I know we're not to December yet, but thus far he's got 22 points in 22. He's got 22 points in 20 games. He's over a point per game, and I think he's just trying to show people that he is a player that can produce to what he did in his rookie year, and he's showing what he could do when a coach actually gives him some offensive range. So, would have liked to see him score more than 2 goals, but again, 22 points in 20 games is good. And the Islanders are winning, so he's doing everything right. And I think he needed this too, because if he would have started this year with 15 points in 20 games or less, then some questions would start to set in. But right now, early on, he's proven some of these doubters wrong.
Filk, what are you thankful for this year in the hockey world?
I'm going to go with something that's a little more late, as of late, more current, just because the play has kind of improved lately. But I'm more thankful for anything, and this was gonna be my answer, but I'm not going with that right now, just because I think he still can be a little better. But I'm thankful for the improved play of Adam Fox as of late. He's been on a big point streak. I believe it's 9 games now that he's recorded points in successfully. So I love what I'm seeing lately. I think the defensive play has gotten better. I think if you had to ask him what he's thankful for, because, and I probably should have used this answer, but the return of a healthy Ryan Lindgren, because you can see that the defense has gotten a little better from the both of them since he's returned. I think Ryan Lindgren's a new man, and it's kind of inspired new life in Adam Fox, even though Fox is still prone to a mistake here and there. It's not nearly as bad as it was before Lindgren went out with the injury from that Pasternak late hit. I like what I see from Adam Fox. I think he's getting back to playing closer to that Norris level that he played at in 2021. So that's big for this team, because they're going to need their best guys to be their best guys, because right now Artemi Panarin has not been the best version of Artemi Panarin. Mika Zibanejad has been good, but he hasn't been scoring at even strength, which is a concern, even though he's still got 10 goals. Chris Kreider has been up and down, more like the Chris Kreider of years past. And Adam Fox he's got to start leading the charge again, because this team is starting to depend on him for offense. And, if he has another big bounce back year, he may add another Norris to his hardware case.
And you're going from the current, I'm going to go to the past, as in the past season. And I'm thankful for the Rangers' first playoff run in 7 years. It is a treat for me anytime I ever get to see the Rangers play on my birthday, which is June 7th. It has happened twice in my life. Now a third time that happened this year. It was so much fun. This team was exhilarating. And now this time it was the Rangers doing it as opposed to the last 2 years. I was having fun watching the Islander fans do it. I mean, I was getting scared last year that I thought they were going to win the cup. And I was really scared. So, I mean, and that was back when this was all things Rangers, everybody. But last
Thank
year,
Josh Bailey for that.
Yeah. And thanks for changing it, Anthony. Dick. But no, it was a great thing. It was a great feeling. And I would love to see it again. I'm more terrified of a Ranger Islander playoff series. That we haven't seen that since 1994. It was not competitive. It wasn't competitive in 1990. It'll be competitive this one.
Do you have a cardiologist on hand?
No.
Yeah,
Fortunately, we're going to
need cardiologists if that ends up happening.
Yeah,
we're going to need Dr. Kevorkian.
I think we're going to need protective barriers from each other if that happens.
There's
a long time.
We're going to have to sign a contract of saying, nah, everything is going to be fine after this series, no matter who wins or loses.
I think one thing that we really...
Oh, wait, go finish.
I was going to say, one thing that we should be thankful for is Dave says he's thankful for Big Apple Hockey. I think we should be thankful for everybody that tunes into the show, supports us, and has been spreading the word, or the virus, as a certain person calls it. And thankful for that. Thankful for the community that we have. My followers on Twitter are awesome. So thank you all. Thankful for kid noises and dog noises from Anthony's dog and kids, because they make
spelling mistakes and other problems.
And Marc's spelling mistakes and name mistakes, because where would we get any type of comedy from if we didn't have Marc calling players like Justin Huberdeau? And Anthony Lynn was the other one. That was another great one.
Anthony Lynn, I legit forgot about. But on the other hand, Justin Huberdeau, I had a Jonathan Huberdeau. It just Freudian slip on that one. But guys, I do have to say also, tomorrow we're going to be having turkey. And turkeys, usually you call somebody a turkey, it's a bad thing. So who are your turkeys for this last year? And I'll start us off, boys, because mine's NHL Department of Player Safety. I know I've been whipping on them for like the last year and a half now, but they're a joke. They're an absolute joke.
Yeah.
Evgeny Kuznetsov took a baseball bat swing to someone's face. The Canucks defenseman, it's slipping my mind right
Kyle
now.
Burrows.
Thank you. And that wasn't penalized. Aaron, I think it was Aaron Dell when he was on the Sabres. He absolutely decked Drake Batherson, and then Batherson falls down, breaks his leg, and it hurts my fantasy team as well, by the way. But I mean, how do you just let guys like get away with that? And I don't know if it's a CBA problem. I got to talk to our friend of the show, Stat Boy Steven, see if it's limiting with that because he knows the CBA like the back of his hand. But I mean, it just NHL Department of Player Safety is toothless.
What I don't get about that is that Evgeny Kuznetsov did the same exact thing that Chris Simon did to Ryan Holweg.
Yes.
And he got a proverbial slap on the wrist for that. I don't get how you let him get away with that.
All right. Filk, who do you have for your turkey of the year?
I thought that this was just for this season specifically. I didn't know that it was just for this year. I guess I should have asked for clarification on that. So I'll admit fault there. But I went with the Rangers and Gerard Gallant for this season because you come up, you get into the playoffs and you have that deep run. And then all of a sudden this year, you look like you have a hangover from getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. What is that about? Why is that the case? And again, like I said, this team needs to get its act together. They need to get its house in order. This division is going to be extremely tight. It's going to be extremely competitive the whole way through. Philly, they look like they're not going to be in the thick of things anymore, but they're still going to be a team that can play spoiler on a nightly basis. And Columbus smacked the Rangers around when they came to the Garden. That's not good. So, Rangers, Gerard Gallant, get your shit together.
Get it all together. Get it in a big sack, just like Morty said. Anthony, who's your turkey of the year?
I'm going to go, my surprise, but I'm going to go with Johnny Gaudreau. And reason for that is, not his on-ice performance. He got 18 points in 18 games, but, top free agent of his class. You could have stayed with your team in Calgary, which, I know they're kind of underperforming a little bit, but could be Stanley Cup contender. They had a great run last year. You leave there, then you pass up a team in New Jersey who was on the rise. Look what they're doing. You could have played with Jack Hughes. And you sign with a team like the Columbus Blue Jackets, who are just forever stuck in mediocrity-ridden team. I mean, I don't. It's just kind of proving he just really went where the money was. He didn't really go for anything other than essentially the money.
Passed up money though.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. He did pass up more money to go to Calgary. So that is true. That part is true. But I just think Gaudreau, again, you leave the Calgary Flames to go to Columbus Blue Jackets, and you're stuck with a team for the next 7 or 8 years that. I don't really know how good they're going to be going forward.
They got some good young players on that team, man.
But it's not. It looks like so far for this year, he's got some egg on his face with the way his team is performing. And in retrospect, hindsight is 2020. You could say that, but he left Calgary to go to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Yeah, you got your money, your point per game, but you're going to be golfing. And I just, I don't know. I went a little off the board, but that's what I was going with at the time.
It's not a bad one, to be honest with you. As I just
overall, I don't think it's bad.
Although I do have to say, we did the math on it though when we did the free agency special, Anthony. People you could also put in the turkeys on that one is Philadelphia. Philadelphia chose Anthony DeAngelo and Rasmus Ristolainen over what they would have spent on Johnny Gaudreau. That was horrible.
Yeah.
And I understand the investment that they made, but it was absolute just blank show.
And
so,
this comment by David's actually kind of true, because I think once Philly was out of it, I think he really had all his eggs in one basket, and then once they weren't able to afford him, seems like he kind of just panicked, I guess you could say. I mean, there weren't many teams that were in on him that were able to afford him, and he went with the team that was closest to home, I guess. That wasn't Calgary, but it did seem like his plan backfired on him. I agree with David there.
And I hate to use this expression because it's happened with people, but when the lights come up at the bar, the choices of who you're going home with don't look all that good. So it's I've seen that happen with a lot of free agents over the years in any sport. I mean, I think one of the guys said that about signing with the Mets one year. That was fantastic. But
And speaking of
again, he could have taken more time and figured more things out. You didn't have to do it that day.
Speaking of free agents, I heard Aaron Judge is meeting with the Giants, the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens with that. I mean, they're gonna. I don't want to get too far into that. But.
I don't know. And all I'm gonna say about that is, all the New York Yankees should say to him is, go get every offer you want. Come back to us. Give us the last bid because we're gonna match whatever it is. All right, guys, let's do some bar talk because I got about 25 minutes remaining.
Shot. This is the easiest I've ever to answer.
I'm gonna say beer. I can't even begin to describe.
I'm actually gonna go crazy. I'm gonna buy everybody around on this one. I just saw the comment Judge should sign with Anaheim. Oh, God. All right, everybody, welcome back to Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk, where we are gauging our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. Are you so confident that you're going to buy everybody around? You're so I'll just have a beer. Or, oh, God, give me a shot. I need a shot. Play along down in the comments below. And, Filk, we're going to start with this one. Although, actually, now it probably needs to be changed because I was going to say the Rangers can carry a 23-man roster. And this all was the same up until about an hour ago.
Shot.
It
needs to be a shot. Listen, I liked Ryan Reeves. He was an infectious presence in the locker room in a very good way because he brought a level of energy that this club sorely needed. They needed a presence like him. He was a leader in that locker room as well. And I liked him, but the cap space was needed. He had to be dealt. And I think there are going to be other moves made sooner than later because what this move, to me, what it signifies is the fact that they acknowledge that changes need to be made and that a move needs to be made. And this is the first step in the direction. So, yeah, I'm shocked.
Anthony?
Well, I think it's actually, I mean, if you can, cap-wise, if you could afford it, I think it's more beneficial to carry a 23-man roster. If you look at the Panthers and some other teams that were in such a bad spot cap-wise that they've had to carry, 18, 19, 20-man rosters and haven't been able to afford to call someone up because of their cap situation, that could really handicap you. So, I get Ryan Reeves hadn't played. I think it was the right move trading him for sure for the player and for the team. But I do think it's more beneficial to be able to carry a full roster. It gives you a lot more flexibility in terms of, being able to move people up and down. And if someone goes down with an injury, you can call someone up. I think that's preferable. So, yeah, I mean, if they can, I think they should carry a 23-man roster. Now, should you have more productive players on that roster as opposed to Ryan Reeves and Sammy Blais? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm going to go shot with this one as well because obviously they need to start cutting the dead weight. If that means start calling up guys like Gustav Riedel from the minor leagues, then by all means start doing it because this team is they're starting to look lifeless, especially in that bottom line. All right, Anthony, one guy that is turning heads a little bit, William DeFore. You sent us a goal that he had the other night in our group chat. 6 goals and 2 assists, 8 points this season. William DeFore will make an impact on the Islanders this season.
Man, he could really shoot the puck, but I'm gonna say shot because right now with everybody healthy, he's not going to get an opportunity. If there were some significant injuries to maybe one or two top 9 forwards, then maybe he would get the call. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think if they stay healthy up to the trade deadline, they'll add a player with NHL experience from another team that can help them. So I think not this year, patience. I do think he could be a fixture on the Islanders going forward, and I've liked what I've seen from him. But I mean, if he's on the team this year, that means something might have went horribly wrong, whether it comes to injury or performance. So I'll stick with shot, but it's not because he doesn't deserve it. It's just numbers game.
Filk.
I'd have to say the same thing. Anything that I could have said, Anthony basically just said. It's a shot. I mean, you don't They have too much of an NHL carved out roster, and it's, as Anthony alluded to before. And one thing I'll say extra is that they're playing Ross Johnston at times over Josh Bailey, so that might be another thing that would prohibit William Dufour from making a roster. So shot here.
Yeah, and I'm actually, even if you want to say in the concept of a trade or anything like that, I'm going to go shot too. I don't think the Islanders want to move him, and I don't think they want to rush him. I think they want to get him up here. They're not going to do it until there's an open spot for him and there's actually a little bit more playing time. You don't bring up you don't have a top prospect play 7 minutes and then ask him, hey, why aren't you producing?
No.
But speaking about top prospects and guys that produced a lot in their careers, Evgeny Malkin scored he did score over 1,000 points, but he played in his 1,000th game and he scored his 452nd career goal in that game. If you haven't seen the video of it, his son actually announced the starting lineup. It's adorable. And Filk, I got to ask you this: Evgeny Malkin, top 5 Russian-born player ever.
Wow. We're talking just NHL?
We'll do just NHL because, unfortunately, Tretiak and probably Boris Mikhailov would knock him out of there.
Valery Karlamov too, maybe.
Yeah.
If it was, if his career would have went a little longer. I'm gonna probably have to say yes as of right now. I'm gonna buy around on this, and I can maybe put Sergei Fedorov ahead of him, same amount of MVPs. Pavel Bure is debatable just because to me, he's the most skilled goal scorer I think I've ever seen in my life. Alexander Ovechkin, obviously, is a top 3, maybe the best. So, yeah, Malkin's right there. I would say Pavel Datsyuk, too, just because I think Pavel Datsyuk is arguably the best two-way player to ever play the game. So,
Anthony.
Yeah, I think it's around. Phil mentioned a lot of players I were going to mention. Bore, Fedorov, Ovechkin, Datsyuk. Malkin's right up there. His numbers don't lie. He's got cups. He's got individual hardware. I think it's around for sure. I think originally in the notes you had this as listed as top 3. Did you originally write top 3?
I think I might have said top 3.
Yeah. So that for me is like 3. Then I'm like I was debating, but 5.
3 would have been more interesting, because that would have been an interesting debate.
I think I needed a faster answer because of Thanksgiving Eve. I would have loved to have had this as a conversation.
5.
That's a good point.
We're talking 5. It's round, not in my opinion, not debatable.
And also I got to throw this tidbit in there. He was named to IHF all Russian team and also the first ever Russian Conn Smythe Trophy winner. For me, I'm gonna buy around, but I think he squeaks in. I don't think it's as close. Bure is the debatable one between all of them. Because I think Datsyuk I put ahead of him because I think Datsyuk is one of the best two-way forwards of all time, if you said that. And his predecessor on the Red Wings, Sergei Fedorov, is right there as well. Malkin was a second fiddle, but man, what a second fiddle to Sidney Crosby. I mean, this guy had it all, and I can't even put the Red Army teams in there. Obviously, Fetisov would be in there as well. Yeah, so there's a lot, but unfortunately, as it guys, Morgan Riley was placed on long-term IR this week, and Toronto's got a bunch of injuries on the defense. Toronto can survive Morgan Riley's knee injury.
I'm going to say Beer. This is going to be a tough one because he helps so much with their offense, both even strength and power play. He's really their only legitimate puck mover on that back end. Rasmus Sandin has not established himself yet as a top-end puck mover. I mean, if there's any time for him to do it, it's now. But they do not have a legitimate, trusted, reliable puck mover outside of Morgan Riley. So you also spelt Riley wrong.
Yeah, it's R. The I comes before the E.
Yeah, his name is the one where it's the I before the E, Morgan Riley.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be Morgan Rayleigh, I guess, if I pronounced it that way.
Yeah, so I'm going to say beer because this is going to be really tough for them to deal with, I think.
All right. Anthony.
Yeah, I'm going to
How
go.
about that Rasmus Sandin?
Yeah, I'm going to go beer. I think it's going to hurt them a lot, but I think during the regular season, they could probably skate by. Eventually, though, the Band-Aid that they did today with trading for Connor Timmins from the Coyotes, the defenseman, that's really not going to hold up that long. Come the deadline, if they're still in it, they're going to need to do some more heavy lifting with their cap and get a more suitable D in just to help them out in general. By then, Riley will be back. I'm just talking about an instance. Their defense, as it is, needs to be upgraded. So now with him out, it really does. But I don't think they have enough cap wherewithal to make a move like that to do it now. So they're going to have to kind of try to tread water until he comes back and then the deadline to really improve. But it's going to hurt them, but I don't think it will sink them. But it's not good though. I'll tell you that. Let's not make light of it either.
Yeah, I'm going to go beer too because I don't think it's going to sink them because they got the potential scoring to do that. But I'll tell you what, Anthony, we've talked about the Islanders tying that game the other night. I mean, that doesn't happen if it was Liljegren as the goaltender that was in that game. That was a bad play. That's a bad
Liljegren is the defenseman on Toronto, not a goalie.
Whatever the backup guy is. It certainly wasn't Samsonov, and I thought it was. And it wasn't Murray because it's another week. He's got to miss more games. But it's just it's just never good. All right. Filk, we were talking about him before. Specifically, you were talking about him before. Jack Campbell is going against the Islanders tonight, 6-4. Look at those numbers. Ouch. Those numbers are amateur at best. The Edmonton Oilers regret signing Jack Campbell.
I'm gonna say round, just because I didn't think that I thought he was an upgrade over Mike Smith. I still didn't think he was the answer. What I thought that they should have done was they should have went out and actually ponied up assets for John Gibson, and they didn't do it again. You got to wonder if they try to do it at the deadline this year, but Jack Campbell is going to be really, really hard to move if he doesn't start to come back from these numbers because he's not a hot hand, as this caption would say below this banner.
Yeah, but that was also for Stuart Skinner. I jumped the gun on that one.
Skinner is not a hot hand either, and he's probably a minor league caliber goaltender himself. So, yeah, Edmonton's definitely regretting this signing right now.
Anthony.
Yeah, I mean, right now it doesn't look good. They seem to not ever really similar almost to the Flyers. They can't get it right in goal. It's becoming an issue. So, I mean, it is still a little early, so I'm not going to go round because, again, it's not even December yet, but so I'll give it a little bit more time. But the early return isn't good. And oddly enough, Jack Campbell broke his nose on the bench as the backup the other game in New Jersey. You see that he got hit in the face with the puck. It's terrible luck, but no, I wasn't sold on this guy when Toronto. I mean, his numbers at some point were at least decent, but you could tell that he wasn't a legitimate starting goalie that can win a team a cup. So I don't know what the Oilers were thinking. I think maybe it was just a lack of options or not willing to pay the price for a guy like John Gibson or someone of that ilk. They didn't want to pony up. Now it seems to possibly be costing them. So I'll go beer, but he needs to get his act together.
Oh, I'm sorry. You went with beer. All right.
Yeah.
Because I'm going right back to round. Because no. I wasn't convinced Jack Campbell was a starting goaltender, and I think he would have been better off staying in Toronto, where at least he was there. And they knew what they had, both parties, him with Toronto and Toronto with him. Instead, it looks like both these teams are going to lose out on this, or both parties, I should say, because it doesn't look like they're solving their goaltending situation in Toronto, which Samsonov's numbers have been good, but they're going to be different. And it's not going to end well for everyone involved. All right. We got two more guys. So the Winnipeg Jets, 7-2-1 in their last 10, 11-5-1 on the season, 23 points, tied for second in the Central. The Winnipeg Jets aren't getting enough respect, and I will start this one off, boys. I'm going to go beer, actually. I wanted to buy everybody around, but nah, it's going to be beer because there's still the Colorado Avalanche. There's still some good teams in that Central Division. But, I mean, I think they're kind of getting exactly the respect that they deserve on that one. They've looked a lot better, like winning a lot of games, especially at home. But I think they're right where they are. Filk?
You know what? I'm going to say round, and I'm going to provide context with it just because I think that, you know what? This team wasn't really expected to be where they are right now. I think second in the division would have been a little high. I think everybody was set a bubble team. But if you look at the makeup of their team and where they're getting their production from, you have a point per game Josh Morrissey right now leading them in scoring with 18
He is amazing this year.
Pierre-Luc Dubois is 1 point short of a point per game with 16 and 17 games. Kyle Connor is not playing his best hockey after having a 40-goal, 90-point season last year. Marc Scheifele, who's been Mr. Point per game for like the last 6 years, he's under a point per game right now. Blake Wheeler is starting to show signs of aging at 36, and he's well short of a point per game right now. Neil Pionk still continues to put up points. Cole Perfetti, I mean, he's scoring at almost a just over a 40-point pace. And then after that, everything is kind of just meh. But, I mean, they're playing well. They really are playing some good hockey considering the guys that they're not getting production from. So Connor Hellebuck has been the Vezina Connor Hellebuck that we know. I mean, he's got a 207 goals against and a 935 save percentage. His numbers are some of the best in the league. He's back to where he was in the 2020 season. So the Jets definitely need to get a little more respect. I think if they make a move at the deadline, I think that team could do some real damage in the playoffs.
Anthony.
You
might. Hold on, I got him.
I'm going. I was going to mention Connor Hellebuck too. He leads the league in save percentage, as Filk mentioned, 935 save percentage. He's been outstanding. And to me, what kind of impresses me the most is that they're playing really good hockey. And if you look at overall, their defensive core really isn't, it doesn't jump out at you. It's not the best. You got Morrissey, who's having a career year, but then after Neil Pionk, Dylan DeMello, Jansen Harkins. I mean, they got some guys that Capobianco is on their D-core. Like you hear their names and you're like, who? So despite that, though, they're playing winning hockey. And I do think not enough people talk about them. But, if they keep it up, they will start talking about the Winnipeg Jets. So I'll go with beer.
Okay. All right. And we got one more for this, guys. And we have actually gone through these pretty quick. It looks like I might be even on time for work. That's going to be terrible. I really didn't want to be on time for work today. But I'm dreading tonight. 15 games are on the schedule tonight. Actually, I can't even find the two off teams right now. I looked through it and then I just lost interest in trying to find that out. 15 games on the NHL schedule tonight, guys. The Thanksgiving Eve is the best night for hockey. Anthony, sorry.
Go ahead.
I mean, it was just this past Saturday. I think there was 15 or 16 games on. So this isn't necessarily unique. So I don't know. I'm gonna go. Shot me a beer. I don't know. I don't. This is silly. I mean, the best slate of hockey, in my opinion, is like that first Saturday after like the week of opening night, where the majority of teams get started. It's new, exciting, it's fresh. That's always a good time. Obviously, playoff hockey is the best slate of hockey. Like round one. Round one's my favorite round, just in that there's always a game on and you're always watching something. And so, yeah, I mean, I put a couple of different times of the year ahead of this. And just, again, in general, a typical Saturday in the regular season, there's a lot of games on. So I don't think this is exclusive to Thanksgiving Eve. So, you know what? I'll go shot. I think this is Mark just getting lazy. Last one, he needed a topic, so he's like, I'm just throw something out there. I'm just busting your chops, but yeah, it's shot for me.
I'll jump in first, Filk, and I'll say it's a beer at least. I thought it was going to be a little bit higher when I originally thought about this. But Anthony's right. There was 15 games on Saturday. There's usually Hockey Day in America, or even I believe they have Hockey Day in Canada too. That's a bunch of games that are in there. I mean, hell, every single week there's usually a triple header just for Hockey Night in Canada and stuff like that. But I mean, it's and it's good. It's not. It doesn't have to be great, but it's still a good. It's still a good slate. Usually, there's always every team is playing tonight. I have no idea why two teams aren't tonight, but that's a different story. And it's still good. I like seeing this. Phil,
I'm gonna say a beer just because I think that it is a really, really good slate of hockey, and usually, from what I remember, Thanksgiving Eve and I believe New Year's Eve are both very good nights for hockey. And as Anthony said, that very first Saturday of the season is always a really good one too. There's always, I think, usually almost everybody plays that first Saturday. Mm-hmm. And just like, let's jam every game that we can in there. From 1 o'clock to 10 o'clock. So that's usually pretty awesome too. Obviously the playoffs, but the playoffs, I think you would exclude them from this argument just because the playoffs are just a different animal because there's a different element to it. But the regular season,
that slate isn't set.
Yeah. So the best slate that isn't set. But I would say beer here because it's very, very close with that first Saturday for me.
All right. Well, we've done all of our drinking for Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk for Thanksgiving. Thanks for playing along in the comments, everybody. And it's time for some Q&A from anybody, and also seeing what some league-wide news we got. Oh, Big Lou's watching. Big Lou's watching, Yeah. What are the news around the league you guys got right now?
Obviously, the trade of Ryan Reeves to the Wild, which was referenced, not really touched on all the way, but that move happened. As I mentioned, the Maple Leafs made a minor trade. They acquired Connor Timmins from Coyotes, which I believe he was a first round pick a couple of years ago.
No, I don't think he was a first round pick, Timmins. I think he was a second rounder.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was second, but he was one of Colorado's top prospects for a very long time. Yeah. Second round pick in 2017.
So those two moves happened, and then Filk mentioned earlier Frank Ciravelli did like a early trade board, but no real rumors still yet, Mark.
And at the top of that trade board, if you want to just kind of expand on that, is Bo Horvat. Frank Ciravelli has Bo Horvat number one up there. Obviously, Patrick Kane, Jonathan Taves are both high up on his board as well. Jacob Chikrin mentions again. So, but it's really somewhat quiet. I think within maybe the next month or so, I would say by the Christmas trade freeze, I think that's when we might pick up a little more on the trade rumor front. And then obviously after that, that's the prime season then up until the deadline.
It's amazing. Jacob Chikrin hasn't even touched the ice yet this season. We're already talking about where he's going to be traded to. It's just, and it was happening when he was getting physicals a month ago. I don't understand a team that would actually trade for him right now. But then again, there are teams that are out there. I don't know.
And at that price too, like why? Like this guy has had one really good year, and then the other years have just been kind of meh. And at what point do we sit back and say that, hey, this might be an outlier, or hey, he's not healthy enough on a regular basis to be able to pay that price that Arizona is asking for? He's going to be 25, and he's had exactly one good year worth the price that Arizona wants for him.
Ariana pointed out that Timmins was a second round pick. He was traded with a first for Kemper.
Kemper, yeah. Which and then I'm not going. Well, I mean, Colorado won with Kemper, so yeah, you make that trade every day of the week. But I mean, the fact that Kemper had a sub 900 save percentage in the Stanley Cup Finals, and that they just let him go without even asking in the following season, it's not a great look. Maybe
right.
one of Filk's moves that you're like, not so great.
Well, guys, this is one of the rare times where I have to leave early. So I'm going to be doing that. I'll be turning it over.
I think we're all going to leave. I think, right, Anthony?
Yeah, I got a dinner and all that stuff. And so.
Yeah, we all got some Thanksgiving stuff. So again, it's a bit of a short show today, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. Because unfortunately, I've got to go and just serve drunk people the entire night. And it's just the worst night.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah. All right. So, anything else for Anthony? What do you think the Islanders are going to do? They're going to win tonight?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, sometimes I just get a feel like a game, like actually that Nashville game and Dallas game too. Nonetheless, I didn't have really good feelings going in, but I do have a good feeling going in tonight. I do think they will get the 2 points. Score, I don't know, maybe 3-1. But I think they'll get the 2 points tonight.
All right. And Filk, there's no Rangers on Friday. No, it's not.
You broke up there. You're kind of like muffled.
Oh, I'm sorry. How about now?
Yeah, better.
Yeah, there's no Rangers this week for sorry, not until Saturday, I should say, when they take on Connor McDavid and the Oilers.
Yeah, Saturday.
No Black Friday.
No Black Friday game. Yeah, it's whatever. It happens, you know. So,
Block going to start tonight?
He's definitely starting tonight. Yes.
I would imagine he would probably have to start tonight. I could check. I didn't see. I didn't keep an eye out on that today. Let me do that right now and confirm.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you very much for joining us. Perhaps
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
And check in with us at the end of the night, or maybe we finally get some content to throw out there. A game review. It's probably not happening tonight, but I'm just throwing it out there anyway. Thank you very much, everybody, and happy Thanksgiving.
Be safe, everybody, and let's go Rangers.